Okay, here we are with another question. This again was from the Biology EOC from 2013. And as always, we always want to cover up the answer choices or the question if that's possible. It just so happens that the question is written right in with the information ahead of that, so we're not going to cover that up right now. So we start off and it says characteristics such as a widow's peak or attached earlobes are determined by the genetic code. Which components of DNA are referred to as the genetic code? Well, sometimes when I come to a question that I cannot remember everything, I will try to jot down what I do know, even if I don't know the answer. So I'm a pretty visual person, so I always like to look at little drawings, and drawings help me. So one of the things I know about DNA is that it has this kind of spiraled ladder-like thing. I don't know if you remember that or not. An interesting thing about it is that it is two-sided. There's two sides to it. Then I remember something about a ladder, so as if this thing is unspiraled. There's a ladder. Ladders have sides on them. They also have rungs on them. So DNA, if it's kind of like a ladder, then what we have to try to remember is what's on the sides. And I remember that there are things here in the middle that are attached to each other. And those were the nitrogenous bases. Do you remember adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine? They're paired up together. Guanine, cytosine, they're paired up. Then I had adenine and thymine again, and they're paired up. Between these two is this tiny little bond, and that's hydrogen. Remember from 8th grade chemistry, IPC, what have you, you know that hydrogen is a very small atom, and it likes to bond with a wide variety of things. The other thing that I kind of remember was that on the sides of the ladder there were other molecules, and that was sugar, phosphate, sugar, and they alternate. Phosphate, have my sugar, all right. Phosphate, sugar, all the way down the side, and I have that on the other side as well. Okay? Now, the sides of the ladder have these alternating sugar and phosphate. The sequence is always the same. But what's on the inside of the ladder, what is called the rungs of the ladder, are these nitrogenous bases, or nitrogen bases. So, Miss, what's that other word? Nitrogenous, if you look at the word, a lot of it looks like nitrogen. This whole first part of it looks like nitrogen. Okay? So don't get freaked out by the word and the length of the word. Just try to figure out how it's pretty similar to nitrogen. Okay? You might have also remembered that your teacher made you do a whole bunch of these where you had to pair them up according to their complementary nitrogen base. So adenine always goes with thymine, thymine always goes with adenine, guanine, cytosine, cytosine, guanine, cytosine, guanine, guanine, cytosine. You get the picture, all right? So it's the sequence that these nitrogen bases go in that actually gives me the code. So which components of DNA are referred to as the code? The code then deals with these bases, and the order in which they occur is going to tell me something. So that is the genetic code. So now let me look at my answer choices and see if that has anything to do with what we just did. So I have the phosphate group. Well, I know that the phosphate groups are down along the sides, and I said that it had to do with these nitrogen bases, what's on the rung. So the phosphate group is eliminated. The nitrogen bases, that's looking good. Deoxyribose, the sugars, remember I said I had a sugar over here. Deoxyribose deals with the D in DNA. That's not it. And then the hydrogen bonds, the wee little tiny hydrogen bonds. So it is the nitrogen bases in DNA that actually gives us our genetic code. But notice the process I went through. I tried to look at all the things I could remember about DNA and the components of DNA.